Hello again. We have returned for part 2 of the saucer rehab reconstruction. I mentioned the fall. I fell down, went boom over there, bada bing. I digress. I bent the hoop in the saucer. So it's on the ground now, flat. Here, let me set this up. So now, you can imagine the dome here, right? Saucer is on the ground, perfectly flat. I stepped on it, I pushed it down. It's got a floor jack under there holding the weight of the motor up so that everything's kind of cool, right? But it's kind of bent and it's kind of loose because we have one bolt in each rib and the existing hardware is down there, but some of them are loose and one of them at least is broken. So I'm going to take this piece here. It's I put it in 4 pieces, an entire other one, and brought it here. So I had the foresight to buy 2. So I'm going to repair this one with the other one, and it's probably just going to be a long, well, it'll be short because it'll be sort of a time lapse, but it's going to take me a while to put this together. So follow along as I disassemble more of these lighter colored ones, and I'm going to create sort of a structure around the edge, not replacing anything that's there, just, dare I use the word, enhancing. Let's do it. All right, so that took pretty much all afternoon. What I ended up accomplishing was there's 6 of these pieces, and they are just sort of, not trussed, but they're definitely adding more reinforcement. They're doubled up where they come together on each join, and then bolted through with these carriage bolts, so it adds up to a lot more rigidity. There's still some action that needs to be accomplished through here. It's just about 5 o'clock right now. You know what that means.
I feel like the pressure is mounting in here. Hello, everyone. Hello, Ian.
Hello. You know that saying that I love so much?
Which one?
Not little by little.
I was going to say that one.
If it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
I think about that all the time.
I'm failing. You know, it's all fun and games to consider building a UFO, but when you actually get to it, never mind the gravity-defying aspect of the whole thing. I'm talking about just the structure. Remember, I fell on this and I bent it.
Yeah.
So I laid it on the ground so that it's flat, and then I put these support rings. See the other satellite dish? I took the ribs out and I crossed them over for some more support down there. And then I spun this metal ring and screwed it all together so it has a lot more support. I can pick it up no problem. But I got this foil, trying to think lightweight, low budget, easily repairable, right? So my options are get aluminum sheet and have it cut into shape, and size for like over $1,000. Or I found this roll of foil. It's basically for flashing for houses. That was $50. So the $50 option is not going to work.
No.
Long story short, look how lousy this looks. You know, I wasn't really hip on all the panels, and then I was less hip on the rivet look. But if it rolled out smooth, it would have been fine, right? But the problem is age or me falling on the thing or all of the above being screwed together. It's not a perfect section of a sphere like the bubble top, for instance, which is perfect because it was formed that way. So as I started to lay these out, the first one looked okay, but then it kinked, so I had to remove that screw. So what we know about metal is it starts to do the oil can, right? That's the term. It either goes upside down or it stays out of shape. And you can see all the reflection where it's bad. So the more I try to fasten it, the more it's wrinkling up, the lousier it looks. One would tend to think that more fasteners would help that, but it's actually going to increase the stress. See? Then where?
Boo.
So we're stuck. This isn't going to work.
But we did move closer to a big city.
Well, that's true. We do live Phoenix adjacent, so there's a couple options. We did a few mutant vehicles for Burning Man. One of them was a large sphere, the one-eyed monster. They put fabric around that. They were able to stretch the fabric over the eyeball, which is comparable in diameter to this, and that was a full sphere that they stitched together. So one option, if I could find a 10-foot roll of stretch fabric, you could just pull that right under. Staple it. I'll just use this wood just like you do upholstery, and it'll still show the ribs. It'll be much lighter, and it won't have those wrinkle marks like this. And it might not even need to be fastened to the ribs because it'll be stretched. That's another option. So let me show you this seat right here.
The project just got a little bit more complicated.
I know, we're on such a roll with the hydraulics and then the bubble. Now this.
Hey.
This is the major feature of the whole thing. It's got to look good. Look at it from this angle. It's just horrible. Like that looks like more of a crash-landed UFO. That's horrible.
Ian in his New York accent. It's horrible.
So this is the thing, right? This fellow who made the mini trike seat, this is just beautiful, right?
So pretty.
But with all fabric, you know, he did an awesome job. So it's going to wrinkle somewhere, right? So being the pro that he is, he hid the wrinkles in the back, right? He made a perfect face and top, but it always bunches up somewhere, right? And that's what we're trying to get away from with the UFO, this. If we get something that looks like this, we're good.
That's cool fabric.
This is super awesome. Yeah, he happened to have this, and I was like, chrome seat? Yeah. So anyway, I don't think we'll find this chrome because this isn't very stretchy. I mean, it does stretch a bit, but we need something like a spandex or a lycra. Mm-hmm. I had 2 conversations with the operator on the phone. He said, let me tell you something. It's called lycra.
I heard him tell you that.
So we're going to go to the fabric store right now and see what
Field
we can do.
trip. See y'all on the road.
from somewhere in Arizona. I mean, outer space, that's right. What we have here is a satellite dish that is being retrofitted as something that looks like this. You might recognize that guy. Either way, long way to go, short time to get there. I fit the thing out with some aluminum, and that didn't work out so well. So what we're gonna try to do today is find another idea. We want it to be shiny, like a flying disc, even though it's more dome-shaped. Hey, you gotta work with what you got. We have the acrylic bubble. We do not have the surface skin for this. We got another idea. It arrived over the weekend. Let's see if something is gonna happen with that. All right, little update. Here's where we're at. We did a couple of things with the bug last week, and you know, it's kind of a tough week. Bunch of stuff didn't work. First the UFO, then a couple of things with the bug. But all that's past us now. We're on to a new and better adventure. The UFO frame, remember I tripped over it and bent it, so we supported this with pieces of the other disc that I bought. Then I put in this round tube support. So what all that adds up to is now it is flat on the ground and it's quite strong. I could pick it up. I mean, it's a little bit heavier, but I think that bearing will still hold it. My plan now is to keep it as light as possible. I mean, all in all, if I had to estimate it, this probably weighs like 60 pounds, 80 pounds. So it's not like too much. You know, this center ring is very heavy, but I think the weight is worth the strength. So we're in a good place right now. Chain drive works. Frame is strong. I got a new idea for a cover, and it's this shade cloth. We might not upholster it, but we might wrap it with a piece of cloth. We've done a few mutant vehicles for Burning Man, and fabric is a really popular choice for covering them because it's lightweight, it's easily repairable in the field. You know, windy place, things are gonna tear, etc. So, you know, if this works, like you could bring a few of these in the kit if it rips or something else happens. And it's shiny, it's shiny. If I could stretch this over this and it looks decent, I think that's a win. And the options with the aluminum were getting expensive. I was supposed to buy sheets of aluminum and have them cut or whatever. It'll get pricey, so this was 45 bucks. But the key here is just with the aluminum sheets, you know, I don't want a bunch of, right now it actually looks like a big pan of Jiffy Pop popcorn. Now that would be a mutant vehicle. To have that thing just burst into popcorn in the middle of Playa. Might be a little moopy, but I think it would be delicious. A real crowd pleaser, if you know what I'm saying. So, you know what? I think this just might work. This is pretty stretchy. I think I could live with that. I'll try not to hang it up on any of the hardware and tear it. Because, I mean, it's reasonably strong, but I think I can live with this. This side looks a lot better because I didn't pull on this yet. But, you know, we would pull it under just like you're upholstering something. And you could light it from underneath, so at night it would glow. Yeah, I think this is the option. Even if we do end up with a couple wrinkles, you know, the ribs are gonna show, but we could put the wrinkle, I don't even think it's gonna wrinkle, this is gonna stretch right into shape. Did we do it? I think so. Finally, a bit of success. So, this is diverting from the trike project a little bit, because I got some mechanical stuff to do, so that's why I decided to do this. I'm putting a master cylinder, gonna mount the pump for the hydraulic. We gotta put in one more hydraulic ram. So I thought we might set this up here and do that at the same time. But I say a diversion from the project. I wanna drive that trike without this accessory on it. And especially if we do bring it somewhere, I think everybody knows that you can't drive it on the street because it's 10 feet wide. But what we can do, just like those big race boats when they have them on the trailer like this, a couple people can lift this onto a fixture in the trailer and then roll the trike in with it. When you get to the location, you just put it in place because this isn't that heavy. What am I getting at? What are we gonna do today for work? Because this is gonna make it. Let's just try this for conversation. Definitely don't want to trip. Definitely don't want to mess anything else up. Now, of course, the center will be cut out because unless I had an outfit that looked just like that same material. Oh, yes, we are going someplace now. Out of this world. This is gonna work. It's gonna stretch to fit. What I'm gonna have to do is put some wood strips on the inside. That's how typically Jack Weimer, rest in peace. He had me do a lot of prep for his upholstery, so I'm gonna take wood strips, put it on the perimeter of both rings so I can roll it under and just staple it quick and easy. So the strips will be screwed in place. I gotta look at this on the camera. I think we're onto something. Dang, the camera doesn't really do it justice. Yeah, camera doesn't do it justice. I mean, maybe you get the scale of it when I'm standing next to it, but right now it looks like kind of a chrome-plated fried egg, no? Did I say we were gonna build a stand for this today? Is that gonna be the fabrication project? Yes. I got some big heavy steel tube, and I got a welder. This is just the kind of nonsense I wanna see as an yard decoration when not in trike riding display mode. Trying not to scratch this thing. If you know plastic like I know plastic, it's gonna get scratched eventually. That's the challenge. All right, the stuff's a keeper. I am going to save this, the order in my shopping cart on my phone and buy another. Because the chances of messing this up in my world is pretty high as well. All right, so what we want to do now is get this thing raised back up and supported from underneath so that I can do this work. And then, man, imagine if we had wheels under this. Well, we could always add the wheels. All right, let's get little Jewel in here. Let's get this thing supported. And we're gonna build a very simple frame. I think something with a big X on the floor and then a vertical post. Actually, you could just have two X's. A top X, it'll just sit on it like a table. About, for me to work on it, about yay high, I think. That way I could step in here, fasten it as I mentioned. Let's do it. Let me get this bug out the way. Man, this is when the shop becomes too small, just like that. You know what? I don't even think we need to bring little Jewel in here because I could tip this up. Let's do that. Let's flip this over. We'll put it on a dolly, stick it in the corner, and we'll build the frame, and then we'll just tip it onto the frame. Make sense? Makes sense. That's the heavy end. Don't want to lose this. Ooh, it's my first time balancing. Looks pretty cool like that too, huh? 10 feet of fun. Whoa! Rotate smoothly. Whoa! All right. 80 pounds? Nah, maybe 150 pounds. Okay, put on some wheels, build a frame. Wheels, here. I'm gonna put it out in this corner. No, I'll put it right here next to the bug. Out of the way. You always need a bigger shop, don't you? Okay, do I want to use that good tube? I think one of these will do. Heavy enough. So we'll make an X, we'll make a brace. We're thinking about, the seasons here. And it's just like winter in the Midwest or somewhere. You got months and months of cold. Here you got 4 months of blazing heat. No yard work, no snow shoveling. You just stay indoors. We saw our first monsoon last night. Wonderful. Coming out of Phoenix up into Flagstaff. So we're south of Phoenix. So we could see like down towards the Yuma, Arizona way and up towards Flagstaff. Channel of clouds on both sides going off. Billowing clouds, thunder and lightning, perfectly clear sky overhead. We're sitting in the pool. 100 degrees out, icy cold beverage. I could get used to this. So the UFO is 10 feet diameter. I gotta tighten that handle. Our UFO is 10 foot diameter. Our piece of steel is 9 feet. This saw actually flipped over on me once and broke this handle and broke the saw frame, and I've been babying it ever since. So I put this plate and bolted on. I actually cracked the housing right off. Yeah, this is on wheels, and it took a ride down the driveway and tipped right over. This was up, and it just went wha-bang. That was fun. All right, so that's gonna be one part of the X. And we're gonna split the next one. Half of 4'6". That's all right. Now, if I know anything about anything, these things are gonna be the same size. Look at that, they're the same size. That ain't enough material. We're gonna need twice as much. What am I thinking? I mean, it will stand, but will it tip over? I'm not trying to create a massive thing. You know what? Maybe I'm gonna use this, and I'm just gonna be ginger about it. I don't want a 10-foot square frame on the ground. This will be cool. If I have to park some weights or old car tires on this, I'll do that. Wherever this thing ends up, you know, it'll potentially be anchored to the ground. Yeah, I don't want anything bigger than that. I don't know why. I don't know why I was thinking I could make an X out of that, but hey, it's Monday. Welcome to work. It's time to get to work. I am going to put a piece of steel under this so we don't burn up the nice floor. So with this, you know, this is 1/8 of an inch thick, right? So we could just weld this on top of here. I mean, I guess you might do that in a rush if you wanted to. I think I'm just gonna make that come down evenly. Basically what I'm saying is we're gonna cut this bottom off. I'm gonna take this chunk out, that way it'll set right on the ground. And that one, will just go like that. Why am I flipping these left to right? I don't know. 2 different weld points. Should we do that? I suppose we could do that too. I think you're gonna do that because it's gonna be stronger. If we did that, then if one of these bent, it's gonna kink right there. But actually, it's not gonna kink right there. Stay tuned for why it's not gonna kink right there. I just had an idea. We're gonna do this arrangement. Yeah, welcome to the arguments in my head. When I ask everybody where I put my glasses in 5 minutes, because they're clear, remember they're right there. When you feel too much resistance, you know it's short-circuiting and it's not giving a good penetrating weld. Now that can just go right there. Let's find the center of that and weld it up. Make sure that's reasonably square. You know, we're not being precise in any manner right here. We just need it to stand up. Kick that welder. That is a nice hot arc. You hear it spitting. Wire speed needs to come up, but I think I'm gonna leave it red hot like this with a slow wire speed. Because it's really strong. Yeah, this is about maxed out for this 0.030 wire. I should be welding this material with 035 with about the same amperage, but it's gonna hold. And if it doesn't hold, I mean, it's only gonna crash land a UFO. I mean, it's not like there's anything unique about that. That stuff happens all the time in movies. Here's a little lesson. You hear how slow that's going? Where it's like zit, 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 and it's spitting out a lot of molten metal. Here, listen once more. I think my wire speed might be too fast now, so you'll hear the difference. Should sound quite buzzy, crackly, as opposed to that softer sound. Hear it? So, you know, old-time welders will say, you know, it sounds like you're frying bacon when you're doing it, just not blip, 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 blip. Either way, I used way more heat than necessary. So another welder's term. That ain't going nowhere. How do I know? Because I welded a lot of stuff that never went anywhere. I mean, didn't break. They went places. Let's get onto the vertical piece. I'm picking this up because I don't want to melt my nice epoxy floor. I mentioned this little mismatch here. Like if this was to bend, it'll kink right there, right? But this is what we're gonna do to prevent that. Our vertical post, this is massive fence rail stuff. So, it doesn't have a straight end on it. I'm gonna drop this in the saw and get a nice perfect cut. Saw's really giving me a fuss today. I don't know if this is like softer steel. It's real like oil rig pipe. Might be time to change that freaking blade. Say, that blade's been giving me a lot of trouble this past cut. I think I'll improve its performance with Anchor Lube. Anchor Lube. I put this stuff on everything. Real world test. Will the blades stop like last time? Or will this magic sauce continue to cut? Oh, so close. Stopped that it started. Close. I gotta tighten the saw. Blade's just getting wore out. Definitely an improvement. I bet if I had a feed of this stuff run into the blade, it'd be a different story. Got to adjust the tension. Hey, the saw fell over. It needs a whole tune-up. Talk about miracle cures. This is close. You know, it could well be that this tube is full of dirt too. Could be sand getting in the teeth of the blade. That is a filthy tube. Look at that. This is what I'm getting at. This is going to bridge that little oddity with the fit up. So I am looking right down the hole here. I am centering this on that join. So you're gonna have this big old tube support, just like that. But of course it's gonna fall over, and the marker's there. I ain't even trying to get hit in the head by kneeling down in front of this thing. It's like a very serious moment. I wish I had an Australian accent. The cuts have to go this deep. I'll put a little mark right here so I know that that goes there. Now we're just gonna cut straight through with this. We're gonna make notches with the grinder. We're gonna slip this over those tubes. That is gonna be mega strong. But I'm gonna drill the end right here because I don't know how we're gonna get in there with the grinder disc to open that up. So we're gonna drill it and we're gonna slice it. Be right back. One thing I didn't realize about this area of Arizona is how humid it is as compared to the Mojave Desert. I guess that's why they have monsoons so much this time of year. Considerable more humidity. You know, I've got one more use for that product. In case you're wondering, that's my official voice. Does that make sense why we're drilling the holes? When I say we, I mean me and my 10 digits here. No, all of us. Do you see why I'm doing this? The drill hole just ends that slot cleanly, that's all. Instead of trying to bugger the grinder in there and just mess with it. Like butter. See how strong that's gonna be, all welded up? Now I'm gonna turn my wire speed down a little bit to get that hot, melty sound again. Hear that? That's a hot application of MIG weld deposit. With the gap in this fit up, you know, I'm sure that the molten metal is both penetrating and filling. Got a little smoke riser going. I told you it was oil drill pipe. You're gonna smoke this shop out. You're gonna have to open the doors to the heat. You know, let that cool. We're gonna figure out what to do up here. I don't know, it actually looks pretty mysterious. Whoa, man, I can't even see the road. Are we still driving? So to support this, we're gonna wanna be bigger than that ring. That ring is looking at about 40 inches. I need a 40-inch X. I think I'm gonna open this door too. It's gonna be hot, but this smoke is starting to get a little bit much. I have a piece of steel on the back, a little jewel. Let me get my gloves, my door opener. The AC is awesome, but there's no ventilation. 80 degrees, meet 105 degrees. Might even be hotter now because we're working a little longer. It's nice though because there's a good breeze, I feel it. Maybe you can see this smoke clear out. I'll let this thing open all the way up while I walk outside. Oh yeah, I can see that moving right through. Well, the piece of steel I have is not going to be suitable for this. So I guess I'm going to have to use a piece of the new stock I was not hoping to use. But that's cool. Yeah, the monsoons are really starting to pick up. Clouds are billowing. Fortunately, this place is like a refrigerator in that the surfaces, all the surfaces in here and the machines and everything is cooler than outside. So once that door shuts, it's kind of just the air. That'll come back to the temperature and all this stuff will sort of stay put for the moment. Wow, that was interesting. I was doing a whole thing and the camera was shut off because it was there in the sunlight in the door. And I went to shut the door and looked at the camera and the emergency was on with the thermometer. So yeah, that couple minutes in the sunlight, thankfully the camera came back to life. I put it in front of the yapping ACs and they talked some sense into it. So what I did during the cool off period, same thing as I did here, but with a 1-inch square tube. So nothing too dramatic. It's just that I'm not gonna do it in the same orientation as that, you know, like this, because if I lean the disc up on these, then it's real easy for it to tip over, right? So I'll lean the disc over like that and then I'll have that leverage. Because once it's standing up, it's pretty much stand up. It's just if you put weight on one side. So I'm gonna measure these real quick. I'm gonna measure the lowest one and tack it. No, I'm gonna measure the highest one and tack it and then bring the rest up to that and weld it. Make any sense? Because squaring it off that tube probably won't do a darn thing. We want it to be relatively even from the ground. 52 3/4. So yeah, it's just a 1/4 inch higher on the side. Let's weld under both of those. Knock those up a little bit, and we're good. And now I'm gonna turn this heat down and the wire speed down because we're welding overhead. And it's a lot thinner metal on the top, so that's gonna be prone to blast a hole and drop it right down into Nowheresville. I'm just gonna hit it right in the corner here. There we go. So I imagine just like that's gonna be close enough. So I could feel it in the weld and the sound of it. We want some more heat. There we go. When I say I can feel it in the weld, you could feel the torch getting feedback, the way that the metal burns. When you feel too much resistance, you know it's short-circuiting and it's not giving a good penetrating weld. Cool. So now just to make things a little easier on us, I'm just gonna weld it like this. Got a couple critiques about me talking too much while I'm working. What's the consensus? Do I need to just shut up? I mean, if I ever did an appearance or got a job as a welding instructor, wouldn't you have to talk a lot and be somewhat engaging / entertaining? I don't know. It's not everybody that could just stand in a shop for a few hours talk to themselves, pull this kind of stuff off. I tell you, you gotta be one self-absorbed individual. All right, all this has been leading up to this. Is it gonna work? Is it gonna tip over? I don't know, but one thing I know is once this thing is standing up, if I gotta just, hi-ya, I could do that or bring in the crane. Let's step back and see. Cue the epic music, please. Dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Boom, boom, boom. Whoa! Yep. Whoa. Okay. Got it. Yeah. Man, if I had made this an inch shorter, we'd be done by now. I don't think it's gonna fall off. It's gonna fall off. I told you I might have to hi-ya it. Hi-ya! Nope, not hitting my leg. I should have made it an inch shorter. Story of my life. So, yeah. Note to self. I think that's something we're going to do with the crane from now on. Yeah, crane, that's it. Yeah. It's okay. Nobody worry, I'm a trained professional. I have always been a sweaty mess of an individual. Follow me? Are we all on the same page here? A little stretch, a little staple underneath. Upholstery style. Why do I feel like I'm getting further away from success with every pull? It'll take a little while. This is totally gonna stretch into shape. I love it. Love it. Easy to repair, easy to maintain. Ultralight. Do I dare try to reach the bubble on there? You know I dareth the most. I tell you, that'd make one hell of a lamp in your living room. I mean, it could rival the famed leg lamp from A Christmas Story. I got 2 awesome lights I'm gonna set up for tonight. I'm gonna do a little time lapse with the lights out in the dark. And I think we made a lot of success today. Just a boy and his UFO. See you next time.